by the great wizard of the New World to delight those who would have melody or be amused. If you sing or talk to me, I will retain your songs or words and repeat them to you at your pleasure. The name of my famous master is on my body and tells you that I am a genuine Edison phonograph.
It's the start of the 20th century. The year is 1901. The month is November. And in Qadian, right in the house of the promised Messiah alayhi salam, is a quaint gathering. And what is happening? Something is being recorded on the phonograph. Let's go back in time, more than 100 years. It was 1901 when phonographs were a very rare and costly luxury for Indians. The first phonograph had arrived in India only a couple of years before. It was seen as a status symbol owned exclusively by the wealthy and affluent Indians, the elite like Nawabs and Rajas and Maharajas. So how did it reach the humble abode of the promised Messiah? It was the start of a new century, the century that the promised Messiah alayhi salam saw as fertile for propagating the message of Islam to distant lands like Europe and America. Carrying all the time in his heart this desire for propagating Islam, the promised Messiah alayhi salam finds out about the phonograph, a machine invented to record human voice and play it back as and when one wished. But India's first encounter with phonographs was through music. Thomas Edison was manufacturing phonographs, and his agents were selling it and making fortunes out of it. One of his accomplices took the phonograph to India and recorded voices of Indian classical singers and melodies of musical instruments. But this is obviously not what the promised Messiah wanted it for. He wanted to use it for spreading Islam, but it was a rare commodity, a luxury rather, only owned by privileged members of the elite nobility. One of his devout followers, Hazrat Nawab Muhammad Ali Khan Raziyallahu Ta'ala Anhu, found out about the desire of his holy master. He was a Nawab from the ruling class of the Malir Kotla estate, and in only a few days' time, he arrived in Qadian with a phonograph. Nawab Muhammad Ali Khan's personal records show that he had purchased the phonograph from T.E. Bevan and Company, a distributor of Edison phonographs in India and based in Calcutta. And going through the records of T.E. Bevan and Co., we can confirm that the phonograph that he purchased, the one used by the promised Messiah alayhi salam, was this model, the one that you can see right here. The Edison Standard Phonograph, manufactured in 1901. Now let's go back to Darul Masih, the humble abode of the promised Messiah, where residents of Qadian are assembled around the phonograph. The promised Messiah quickly wrote a poem.
आवाज आ रही है ये फोनोग्राफ से ढूंढो खुदा को दिल से नलाफो गुजाफ से.
So says the sound of the phonograph. Seek God through hearts and not through tales and fables. Hazrat Maulvi Abdul Karim Sialkoti radiyallahu anhu recorded this poem in his melodious voice on the cylinders of the phonograph. And another poem of the promised Messiah written in praise of the Holy Prophet ﷺ. One had to speak very close to and directly into the horn of the phonograph. The voice was recorded on wax-coated cylinders, upon which the stylus would etch the sound waves for them to be recorded and played back. Records of the Gramophone and Typewriter Company in London show how cylinders in India would often lose their recordings due to extreme heat of Indian summer. Sadly, this is exactly what happened to these precious recordings of the Promised Messiah ﷺ's poems, recorded in the voice of Maulvi Abdul Karim Sahib Sialkoti. Alas, they could never be recovered. The Promised Messiah had planned to send a missionary delegation to Syria. He had planned to record an Arabic speech in his own voice through the phonograph, so that the delegation could take it with them and play it to the locals. The mission, unfortunately, never materialized, nor did the plan to record the blessed voice of the Promised Messiah. Today, we sit and regret that the blessed voice of the Promised Messiah could not be recorded. It could have been a great source of connection between him and the generations of his followers around the world. We do feel deeply saddened that it never happened.
आज रुए ज़मीन पर जमात अहमदिया के अलावा कोई जमात नहीं जो वैसी जमात तमाम दुनिया में क़याम नमाज का एहतमाम कर रही हो। कोई जमात नहीं जो दीन की खातिर माली कुर्बानी और ज़कात का एहतमाम कर रही हो। कोई जमात नहीं जो खिलाफत राशिदा के साथ जुड़कर खुदा ताला को मजबूती से पकड़े हुए हो।
कभी पुरसोज लहजे में हमें कुरआन सुनाता है,
कभी हम दो सना करते हुए नगमात गाता है।
तुम मुसलमान और हकीकी मुसलमान हो। अल्लाह ताला तुम्हारा मौला और तुम्हारा मददगार है। व नेमल मौला व नेमन नसीर। बस क्या ही अच्छा आका और क्या ही अच्छा मददगार है। आज अल्लाह ताला की ताईद और नुसरत हमारे साथ है।
Isn't Khilafat the voice of the Promised Messiah that we all get to listen to? And we can always listen to this voice of his whenever we want. Maybe not through the phonograph, but through our televisions, through our gadgets, on YouTube, on all social media platforms, and anytime we like on our phones. So why feel sorry when his voice is in the air, all around us, the blessed voice of his Khalifa? So, instead of remaining sorrowful, let's pledge to ourselves that from now on, we'll listen to every word of Hazrat Khalifatul Masih, taking it to be the voice of the Promised Messiah, the voice that we can always access, the voice that is within our reach, always there to cleanse our hearts and souls.
का है बड़ा एहसान MTA